TV when you're ready. All right, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of September 18th, 2023. In accordance with LB 898, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted by the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation.
Stay standing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The order of business of the Lincoln City Council is as follows. The clerk will call items listed on the agenda. Under a public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including an address that you may be representing, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization or group, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please call our first item?
Okay, our first item of business is additional instructions. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Speakers should begin by stating their name, address, and organization of the group. Clerks will also use a light system here to aid with your timing and your testimony. The lights will appear on the monitors on both podiums, and both podiums are available for testimony. These lights will be green for your start time for your testimony, yellow would be your 1 minute remaining reminder, and red will indicate your stop time. Next on our agenda for Monday, September 18th, 2023 is the consent agenda, sections 1, sections 2, and sections 3.
Is there anyone here to speak on anything on the consent agenda, items 1, 2, or 3? Director Carey, please.
David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. Very pleased to introduce Bailey Feet for our new open position of Planning Commissioner. She comes to us with a lot of anticipation for the opportunity to do this work for the community. Just really excited to have an educator, an advocate, and a volunteer coming forward, and I just wanted to wait until you see your first agenda. So but we're very excited, and I'll hand it off to her.
There you go.
Good morning. Bailey Fight, address 4040 South 82nd Street Court. And I'm just very honored to be nominated. I'm very excited for the city of Lincoln. I've lived here my entire life, and I look forward to helping us grow and continue to give us the infrastructure needed to support all of our residents. I'm excited to learn and just ask a lot of questions from my fellow planning commissioners and David Carey's expertise in his planning department. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming down. We surely appreciate it. Do we have any questions at all? Yes, Mr.
I'll just make a comment that Bailey was my opponent here recently in the election process, and I too was asked by the mayor's office to come up with a candidate for this position, and I did come up with one that was highly qualified, and I was told that he was a strong contender, but the mayor came forward with this nomination, and I'll support that. So,
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, very good. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. Director McIntyre, please come on down. And Ms. Smith.
Good afternoon. Barb McIntyre, Human Resources Director, 575 South 10th, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you Lisa Smith. She has made a career in the financial services industry and has her current employer is D.A. Davison. She has agreed to be on our police and fire pension board, so we're super excited to be adding such talent to that board. I have to just cover a couple of her certifications because they're pretty impressive, I think. So she is a certified wealth strategist. She is also a certified advisor in philanthropy. So we feel very fortunate to have her interest in our board and have her joining us. And I'll let her give a few minutes about herself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. My name is Lisa Smith, 5910 Norman Road. I have done financial services my entire adult life. I started out in banking and then switched over to investments in 1999. So it is an easy fit for me. It's something that doesn't even make me nervous or worried at all. And it kind of aligns two of my passions, which is giving back to the community and financial services. So I think it's a nice fit for me, and I thank you for your consideration.
Well, we certainly appreciate your willingness to give your time and talent to the city of Lincoln in this particular way. Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Smith?
She'll help me.
Does that mean you'll need to recuse?
Any other questions at all? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Next.
David
Yes.
Carey again. Very pleased to introduce Frank Ordea as our applicant, not appointee, sorry, for our Urban Design Committee. Very important committee as well. Very excited for his expertise and background to inform those discussions and decisions. And we just note that he's already done some work with both the Urban Development Department and the Planning Department on a class that he's put together, a curriculum. So very excited about his appointment as well.
Welcome, Frank.
Well, thank you for having me. First, I want to say I think the work that the committee does is really important into shaping the way we view our built environment, how we live, work, and play. Maybe not in that order, but I think we have to. Sorry, that was distracting. Where was
Live,
I?
work, and play, and maybe not in that order.
Yeah, maybe not in that order.
You're good.
Anyway, but if you'll have me, I'd like to continue in working towards making this place a functional, attractive, livable city that meets the needs of all its residents and businesses.
Here, here.
Very good. Well, thank you, and we really appreciate you willing to give your time and talent to the city of Lincoln as well in this regard. We appreciate it very much. It's because of citizens like you and the others that have come forward that their volunteerism helps expedite and effectively run our city really, really well. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. Do we have any questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little curious about the class.
Which one in particular? Because
Well,
I've worked with the city.
Director Curie alluded to a great class that you developed.
Last semester we worked on a with the Lincoln Arts Council and with Planning Department with trying to figure out the creative district.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yes.
This is a good day so far.
It is. Director Lopez, the floor is yours.
Go on, Joe, over there. Good afternoon. We have two great candidates for appointment to the Air Pollution Control Advisory Board. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Joe Francis. He's a recently retired environmental professional who worked for the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy. And our department's had a long-standing relationship with him. In his role there, he was an air compliance specialist. And one thing I really want to point out to you about Joe is that he was instrumental in coordinating the multi-state and multi-agency partnership developed to educate and keep the public informed about the smoke exposure risks related to the flat hills of Kansas. And as he said to me, now Canada's seeming to be more pervasive of a concern, but that was no small feat. And Joe will tell you a little bit more about himself, but he's going to be a public representative on the advisory board. Katie Gutierrez, I'm pleased to also introduce is an environmental specialist with Lincoln Electric System. And Katie actually, during her educational process, was an intern at Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department. And prior to being at LES, Katie served at the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy as the coordinator of compliance with the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. And Katie's going to be joining our board as an industry representative. I'll ask Katie and Joe to share a little bit about themselves.
Welcome,
over it.
Katie. Welcome.
So as Pat said, my name is Katie Gutierrez. I'm representing Lincoln Electric System, which is 9445 Rokeby Road. I do live here in Lincoln. I've been here for 15 plus years. I went to school, UNL with environmental background, raising kids now in the community, and I've spent my career working in the environmental compliance space in various functions, from the state to an ethanol plant in York to Lincoln Electric System now. So I feel very comfortable in that balance between industry has needs to get the resources we need out there, jobs, very important functions in our community, as well as protecting the resources that we're all using and need to live. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve on this board and take any questions you have at this time.
Very good. Any questions at this time for Katie? Okay.
Thanks.
Yay.
Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Lincoln and Lancaster County has been really good to my family and me, and this provides an opportunity to give a little back, perhaps. As Pat described, I'm a little unique in that my entire career has been spent with what is now the Department of Environment and Energy. Interestingly, about the first half of the career was devoted to compliance enforcement and regulatory development. Second half of my career was spent more in an assistance and in the grant programs. So I think I have a good understanding of the pluses and minuses of enforcement versus assistance. And then the last few years of my career, I was involved in the combination of the then Department of Environmental Quality and the Nebraska Energy Office. And it was a very, very interesting way to end my career. So look forward to serving. I'm pleased with the opportunity and hope I can add something.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it. Any questions for Joe? Okay. Thank you again to both of you for serving. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the consent agenda? Once again, those are items 1, 2, and 3. Anyone here to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, let's move forward.
We can now vote on these items. Item 1A is appointing Bailey Fight to the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission for a term to expire August 24th, 2029, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Introduced by Weber, seconded by Schob. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1B is appointing Frank Ordea to the Urban Design Committee for a partial term to expire February 1st, 2025, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Schob. Discussion? All right,
we're all
seeing
in
none,
favor of
please
this
call the
one.
roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1C is appointing Lisa Smith to the Police and Fire Pension Plan Investment Board for a term to expire September 1st, 2028, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Carlson, seconded by Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1D is appointing Joe Francis and Katie Gutierrez to the Air Pollution Control Advisory Board for terms to expire September 1st, 2026, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Washington, seconded by Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1E is reappointing James Crook and Jennifer Seacrest to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for terms to expire April 27th, 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Carlson, seconded by Weber. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1F is reappointing Bradley Brandt, Katie Graff, and Tammy Poe to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for terms to expire April 27, 2026. Introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers, Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Items 2A and 2B were introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Weber. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Okay. That concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to section 4, public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll be calling item 4A and 4B together. Item 4A is application of Open Harvest Cooperative doing business as Open Harvest Co-op Grocery for a Class D liquor license located at 330 South 21st Street, Suite 104, and the related manager application of Amy S. Tabor.
Very good. Welcome, Amy.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you. Yes, it's been a while.
Yes. If you could, Amy, please start with your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Amy Tabor. I'm here on behalf of Open Harvest at 330 South 21st Street, and I also reside at 855 South 35th Street.
Perfect. Thanks for coming down today. Could you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your application?
Yeah, so Open Harvest is looking forward to moving our current store to a new location in the Telegraph District, where we will be hopefully allowed to sell beer and wine, supporting even more local brewers and wineries that we support, like the other products in our store. So we're looking to do this in early 2024, as long as construction and the arrival of all of our equipment stays on track.
Very good. Any questions for Amy at this point in time? Okay, very good. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. And it'll be, as Councilwoman Washington mentioned, a long road to get liquor at Open Harvest.
Yes,
So,
yes,
very
it
good.
has. Thank you very much.
So
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your patience.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4A and 4B, the application for Open Harvest? 4A and 4B. All right, see none, let's move on to 4C.
I'll be calling item 4C and 4D together. Item 4C is application of Global Warming, Inc., new business as The Mill Coffee and Tea for Class C liquor license located at 1040 O Street, Suite 100, and the related manager application of Tamara S. Sloan.
Ms. Sloan, Mr. Sloan, welcome both.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good to see you all again.
Tamara and Dan Sloan, 405 South 28th Street.
Yep. So Tamara calls this our pocket mill. We are starting we have started a new location right on the corner of 11th and O in the old LES building. It's in conjunction with the Ticket Sports Talk Radio, which is kind of a stretch for us, but Rebecca and Derek are such terrific people. They sweet talked us into doing this and built a really cool space. We do lease space from them. They're not partners, but it's a good spot, and it's pretty vibrant, and that's really part of downtown Lincoln that I think really needs some help. There's a good number of empty storefronts there. There is down on 9th and O, the new hotel, and we've already seen a little bit of traffic from them, but the mill has kind of a track record of kind of generating a little bit of business around us because we attract a lot of cool people, and we're hoping to do it again. And one of the cool people we attract is Open Harvest.
Yeah.
They are going into the Telegraph District in the same building with us, and we wholeheartedly support their application.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, thank you both for coming down. Do we have any questions?
Yay.
No questions. Very good. Thank you
you so
both.
much.
We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4D or 4C, 4C or 4D, the application of the mill? All right, very good. Let's move on to 4E.
I'll be calling item 4E, 4F, and 4G together. Item 4E is application of Bar at the Yard LLC doing business as Longwells for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street on September 30th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Item 4F is application of Yin Family LLC, doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street on September 30th, 23 from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. And application 4G is of Yard Investments LLC, doing business as Gate 25 for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street on September 30th, 23 from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4E, 4F, or 4G? There we go. Welcome.
Hello.
Doesn't matter, either
Sweet.
one.
Lauren
been on
Marsh,
this side before.
Longwells, 350 Canopy Street.
Very good.
Brandon Acker, Gate 25, 300 Canopy Street.
Very good. Tell us a little bit about the applications we have before us.
We're just expanding the footprint on the 30th there. We do have Barstool happening in the morning, so it's kind of a Barstool's done. They come over, go Big Red.
Nothing out of the ordinary here from what's usually done.
Nope. No,
Okay.
no changes.
Okay, very good. Questions for the applicants?
No question, but I wanted to note, and the reason I asked the city clerk if they would read them all together is that these three applications came in complete and complete, like each application was complete and they were completely in sync. Thank you very much. This is what we are looking forward to at the rail yard. So.
Progress.
So then we asked you to come forward. So I wish we'd had a third mic and, but no, it's
All good?
fine. It's all good.
Right. Yes, Councilman.
Please, someone explain Barstool. So Barstool Sports is how can you describe it? It's like a cult following Barstool. They're just sports guys. They're silly, they're funny, and then their leader's called El Presidente. They're just kind of jockey sports writing. Started out as like a podcast, and then it turned into a radio show, and so they kind of travel the country for certain games that they like, and then they promote their lines for their gambling. I mean, it's fun, degenerate stuff, and so they have some products that they back. Like, what do they do? High Noons. They do. What's the lemonade?
Is it Mike's Hard Lemonade? They
I don't know.
do
It's like a
proper
spiked
12
tea.
liquor.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just fun people, and so it's a really good event to come to Lincoln because they do bring a big crowd. So it'll be fun. The college kids will love it, and yeah, I see positives all around.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you both.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4E, 4F, or 4G? Anyone else on those items?
Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward, I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 4E through 4G.
Second.
Could you 4E through 4G?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. May I try that again?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 4A through 4G.
Very good. Is there a second on that? Second, Carlson. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes section 4 of our public hearing liquor resolutions. We'll move on to section 5, public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 16th through August 31st, 2023.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 5A, new and pending claims against the city? Anyone here to speak on item 5A? Okay, seeing none.
Wait,
I think.
He looks like a Bill Cosby.
Thank you. Maybe.
He do look like, I know.
I've heard that before. It used to.
He beats in Boston on my brother's place, and to give him $50 to my sister-in-law. He looks, you resemble him. He was bad, what he did. Shame on him.
Yes, agreed.
To make him famous, then to do something, it's very bad.
Welcome.
Okay, what do
sir,
you want me to start and say something?
Please start with your name and address.
I can hear the good.
Can you please start with your name and address?
Your name and address?
My name?
Yes, name and address.
My name is Antonio Rocca,
Okay.
and I live at 2000 North 28th Street. But I got two names. I used to be a boxer. Al Curtis, the chief of police, Tom Cassidy, Jim, the captain, the 27, Don. They know who I am. My cousin's a law professor, Rocco Castellano.
Okay.
And Vincent Ferragamo used to play for Nebraska. It's my relative.
Okay.
I can talk?
Yes, please talk
Okay.
about the claim that you have against the city of Lincoln.
Please, I can't hear the good.
Yep, Sony.
It's your time. It's your time to explain about what you have to present today, the claim against the city.
I can talk
Yes,
about
you can
it?
talk about it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Sony.
January 12, I was at South 40, right across the Penny Bank, they call them. You know, there's a car wash there.
Okay.
It was me and a young girl with the bus. The bus rides about 3:35, 3:40. I get on the bus. Oh, my head. I'm getting two steps to what it was. It's a place right on the left that you can sit. I put my bag there, and I'm sit. I look for my pets. I can find my pets. I put them in my pocket, and I try what I have to do, one step, here to here. They put $1, and what do you do? It was a desktop. He stepped on the pedal, boom, I fall. There, right through here, across my neck and my back. Then to my head. Then when they pick me up, two people, so I told you to sit. After I fall, you told me to say, come on. I take the delight in that, and I don't care what it cost me. It's no true, no lie. He's a liar. I went to the hospital to check me out, thank God. You don't find no bruise. I went home, the first thing I do, I'm a very clean person, I never wear the same clothes. Every day I gotta be different clothes. I took my clothes off, and I go to my restroom to take a shower, and I look at my, right here, I have blood, like this much all around, and dark. I called my daughter, I went over there, you took pictures. And I'm I'm 87 years old. I'm very depressed because I lost my apartment. I'm living 33510 Conaiasca, next to Wendy. The place is so filthy, but I have no other choice. I help the people off the street. I retired in 1968, boxer. And I help 20 boys and 21 girls. I give them money to eat. I give them money to get them a job. And I got lucky. I give them a job. Right now, the police get any officer in Lincoln knows. The mayor that knows, Chris that knows me, all of them. I got to let go because the people, I don't know the depression. We always help the people. Now what to do to me? Look at this. I can have a 2 operation because when I fall, the wire broke in my leg. Then I got a blood clot in my left leg. I don't live like that. I used to live in a 22-room home. My grandfather stopped at Joe Kennedy in 1920. And I don't want to talk. I come a big family. I need the help to pay my daughter bills and to help me out. That's all what I want. I lost my apartment. I give everything away because I went to Florida. Supposed to get operation there. My son is there. I have nobody here. I got a cousin's a law professor. When I met somebody in New York, I hang up the phone. I don't look for trouble. Like the police didn't know. I don't take advantage of them. I walk away. I love people, I walk away.
We are at the 5-minute mark.
Yes.
And so let me check and see if any of my colleagues have questions.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Our chair is going to ask if anybody has questions for you.
You want me to sit?
You can stand, and if they have questions, they'll ask you,
Okay.
and then when you can sit down, I'll tell you, okay?
Okay. Any questions at this point in time? I think that we'll call Director Elliott up to have a discussion.
And I may have a question as well as Councilman Duden. I don't mean to
Yes,
interrupt, but I'm hoping that investigator left to get we have a hearing device that
Okay.
we could give to Mr. Rocca so that he could hear us better.
Okay.
Great.
Councilman Duden, you have a question?
I'm going to ask him if he had papers or copies of documents for us.
Have any papers or any documents for us?
You want me to sit?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Tony, do you want to hand those to Tom and to Councilman Duden, and we'll see if he has any questions regarding that paperwork?
Yeah, let's see what's on them.
Thank you. Yeah. Sir?
I wanted to ask one question just for clarification. Mr. Rocca,
I can't.
It's okay. Councilwoman Washington.
how about if
is
I
going to ask
write
you-
it down?
Our Councilwoman Washington will ask you a question,
Okay.
and I'll repeat it for you so you can hear.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Mr. Rocca,
Yeah.
would you tell me, I know you can't hear this, but I'm gonna, Ms. Sony will ask you the question. Were you?
Sorry.
Were you?
okay.
It's okay.
I'll ask you, I'll tell you just.
It's fine. Were you seated and then stood to pay the fare when you fell?
Were you seated down and then stood up to pay for the fare? To pay for your pass?
Yeah.
So you were
yeah.
seated down and then you stood up to pay for your
Yes,
pass? Okay.
yes. I paid the fare, and I told all the bus driver, please, let the people sit for before you take off, because we all don't take advantage of us. That's all. I always talk nice to people. Yes, I pay. I put $1 in. I don't want no change, because I was hurt.
Yeah.
And I went to the hospital.
And was the bus stopped when you stood to pay?
Was the bus stopped when you stood up to pay?
He take off. He take off. Like a step, like it was in a racetrack.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it, excuse me, I think a light of that, what it cost me. Excuse me, I gotta say another thing in my mind work. Right in the hospital, robbing me over $9,000, $12,000, they don't give me my clothes. They get me go home with the pajama. They dogging me out. I never drink, I never do drugs.
Okay.
Please, I got the letter if you don't believe it.
Yep. I think
Believe me, why they do that? Why? Why we don't love one another, give for one another, for all the people who run the world?
Okay. Thank
I
you.
don't care what they do to me.
No more questions at this time.
Go ahead and.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Copies of your
Thank you
paper,
very
and we'll give
much.
it back.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, have a seat.
Okay.
we'll give it back.
Very good. Thank you, Sony. Appreciate it. Director Elliott? Welcome, Director Elliott.
Yes, thank you.
Could you please give us an overview of the circumstances that brought us here today?
So this was an incident that was on our cameras, on the bus system, and it appears that it was January 12th at about 3:27. And Mr. Rocca gets onto the bus. He has what appears to be some trouble finding his fare and is looking around for his fare. The bus operator at that point tells him to have a seat. That's fine, have a seat. We'll get the money later. And the bus at that point is stopped. And so Mr. Rocca continues to remain standing, and then the bus starts to move. The operator does tell him again to take a seat. He continues to stand, and the bus at some point, a few seconds down the road, comes to a stop. Everything's fine. Then it accelerates again, and that's when Mr. Rocca falls. It doesn't appear from the video and from the GPS on that the bus accelerated unreasonably fast or hit the brakes hard. It appears to be a normal stop and go for the bus. And so at that point, there had been a couple interactions between Mr. Rocca and the operator trying to tell him to have a seat before the fall, but never did at that point.
There's no truth.
I'm unable to pull up the video right now, but if this is something council would like to see, we could continue it a week. We could give you an opportunity to view the video and then go from there. But that would be an option.
I would like to see the video.
Me too.
Okay. Any questions for Director Elliott?
Do you have any bills or an incident report?
I don't believe so. I don't have anything. Do you?
So what's he
We
asking?
we did not receive any medical bills. I understand he may have brought something today. However, we did not receive something.
And it doesn't appear that there was an amount
Right,
requested.
and
either.
that's the other thing I was going to say.
Sorry.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Director Elliott or Mr. Christie before we let them go?
Johansi Christie, City Attorney. Thank you, Councilman Schob. He said I should introduce myself. So.
Liz Elliott.
Yeah, Mr. Christie, can you talk about what's your normal process for investigating a claim like this? What does that normally look like? And I assume you went through an investigative process for this particular claim, and is that City Attorney or LTU?
So I would say it involves both departments, and just generally speaking, whenever we get a claim, it could come into the clerk's office, City Attorney's office, comes in writing. I think, and I could grab the file, but I think we received something in writing.
Yes.
And then we will contact the department that it involves. We'll have communications with that department, both phone, email, list of questions. Send us everything that you have. We review it. We look at it, and then sometimes there is also communications from our office with the claimant. That could be by telephone, or sometimes they might come into the office and talk to the assistant city attorney that is handling the claim. Sometimes there's also just communication with the claimant if there's further follow-up or questions. There will always be communications with the claimant if there's going to be a denial. Our office will let them know that we are recommending denial and that it will go through the city council. We explain the process and we send a letter saying it'll be heard at this time on this date. And that's generally the process that we follow for all claims. Obviously, during that process of information gathering and making the proper determination, we'll do whatever investigation that we think is necessary, and that is kind of case by case specific. So, and that was followed in this process as well. And I do think that he had some communications with the assistant city attorney in our office. I'm not sure if it was over phone or in person. It may have been both, but there was some communication.
And typically when we get the contact from the law department that there's been a tort claim filed, we typically will pull up any video. Sometimes we have injury or accident reports. Sometimes we'll pull up, not in this case, but if it's some other claim, beehive or asset management type data, and provide all of that to the law department. So then they're able to analyze everything and go from there.
Great. In addition to the video, could we get any type of other supporting documents for this particular investigation for review?
Yeah, I think in this one, it looks like it might just be the video, but I'll double check that we didn't do any injury or first accident report on this one.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for these two?
So we don't have a dollar amount on the claim.
Was a dollar amount submitted?
There is?
No, there was not a dollar amount submitted, and I would say that that's actually not as unusual as you might think. We have a lot of claims come in with an unspecified amount.
Sure.
So that's not actually unusual.
There's a future things, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you. And Mr. Christie, as we go through the process of pending claims, could you be so kind as to explain to our participant today how things have occurred?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on
Want me to get up?
new or pending claims? Not at this point. Anyone else here for new and pending claims? Okay, very good. I understand that traditionally our voting occurs at the end of our public hearing resolutions, but if everyone is okay, I'd like to actually vote on this item now, so our attendance can be explained what's going on and people can understand, as opposed to waiting through the entire process, if everyone's okay with that.
That's fair.
So if I could.
What are we voting on then? I'm confused here.
You're voting on accepting the new and pending claims report, and as a reminder, council members can also pull a new or pending claim off of the claims
Okay.
report, which I understand that I think some
Yeah.
members want to do.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks,
Yep.
Tom.
Yep, you bet, you bet.
Thank you.
So if I could get a motion on the new and pending claims.
Need a motion to accept item 4A, accept the
5A.
5A, excuse me. There'll be a second, then there'll be a motion to amend.
I'll second that.
So that was a motion?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept, motion
Second.
seconded by Washington. Very good, let's call,
And-
no, we have that motion, and then
and
let's go ahead and make the
Prior to
withdrawal.
that, I would like to make a motion to remove or withdraw the claim of Mr. Antonio Rocca from this report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Carlson, so let's, so that's an amendment to the motion. So, okay,
So we're removing it from the denied list.
Moving it from denied.
But we're, yeah, just removing it from the denied.
Yeah.
And it would go on pending.
Yes.
pending
Yes.
status, yeah. Sony, do you want to call that roll?
Yes. Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Push the button first. Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Before we continue,
I guess in something.
yeah, no,
The main motion there. So,
I just to get to the hospital. I went out 3 days
think-
later. The
we amended.
The doctor,
You wanna call the roll on the main motion?
Yes.
You know what she says to me?
Weber,
We spoke.
Yes.
She says,
Schob,
you know what?
yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and patience as we adjusted that a little bit. Let's move on to item 5B.
Okay, I'll be calling item 5B, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23009, application of the City of Lincoln to amend the Lincoln-Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to adopt and incorporate into the Comprehensive Plan the Local Food System Plan.
Hi, Kim, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you.
Yep, if you want to go ahead and just say your name and address, and then
Let's begin. Okay.
the floor is yours.
My name is Kim Morrow. I serve as Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Lincoln. I'm at 555 South 10th Street.
Yay.
And we are bringing before you today the local food system plan that was announced in July. This is a result of over a year's worth of work from a diverse steering committee of interested members of our community. This is a document that outlines a set of activities that will strengthen our local food system through the creation and implementation of plans and policies. And we went about this work to expand local entrepreneurial opportunities, to support our local farmers, foster a sense of pride in our local community, and improve our food security and climate resilience. The plan has 4 main goals, which is first, to increase healthy food for all; second, to increase local food production and food security; Third, to protect soil, water, and air. And fourth, to reduce food waste. We have some members of the steering committee and the public who are here who would like to fill in some more details about the plan, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Morrow before we proceed? Okay, very good. Thank you, Kim. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5B? Please come forward. And we do have 2 microphones going, so you can have one going and prepare the other, and we'll just go back and forth. Welcome.
All right. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sharuth Umbozagom, and 2201 West Dutton Road, Lincoln, Nebraska. My husband Kevin Loth and I own Shadowbrook Farm and Dutch Crow Creamery. Our farm is located on West Dutton Road within the 3-mile city limit of Lincoln. We have been actively producing food for our local community and marketing through farmers markets, local stores, and restaurants for the last 28 years. I am in full support of the local food systems plan. One challenge I see to actualizing this plan is access to affordable farmable land. Land values in Lancaster County make purchasing farm ground for new farmers difficult. As my husband and I near retirement age, we have begun to think of ways that our farm could remain in food production. Our land has always been farmed with regenerative agricultural practices, and over the years, we have worked with many new and aspiring beginning farmers. We have offered apprenticeships and tours with the idea of growing the competition, helping to foster growth of new producers. Many of our past employees and apprentices have gone on to farm for themselves. One of the most memorable was Jim Caruso, who has since passed. My husband and Jim are responsible for starting the Sunday Farmers Market at College View, which has become one of the most successful green markets in the state. Our location on the southwest corner of Lincoln places our diversified farm in an ideal area of the city. We feel fortunate to have purchased this land in 1996, when farm ground close to Lincoln was still affordable for aspiring young farmers like ourselves. Our vision for the future of Shadowbrook Farm is adding to the diversified agricultural landscape by improving upon the ability to feed the city of Lincoln. Here are some of the ideas we have for our urban fringe farm that align with the local food system plan. Opening a farm store and roadside stand, hosting educational facility for new farmers, supporting immigrant and refugee farmers, hosting community gardens, lease farm ground and infrastructure to new beginning farmers, have a farm and to table restaurant and cafe, teach cooking and cheese making classes, host a community food hub, as well as events. We are invested in the future of our local economy and feel that the local food system plan is exactly the legislation that will support local food access into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for our testifier? Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. And if we could have our next person just go ahead and get ready on the mic here. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan McGuffey. I'm the Community Crops Program Coordinator at Family Service Lincoln, 501 South 7th Street. I am grateful to the City of Lincoln, the Mayor's Office, and the many community advocates that made this plan possible. It was an honor to co-chair the Community Committee on Local Food and to take part in this planning process. This plan takes the long overdue approach of treating our local food system as a vital piece of infrastructure. It is just as important as the transportation or water system of our community, and we must plan for, maintain, and improve our food system to have a functional and resilient city. The Community Crops program I work for serves hundreds of families each year, many with limited economic resources to help them grow their own food. Many of the growers we work with are immigrants and refugees who often bring a wealth of agricultural experience to enrich our community with their culturally important foods. This local food plan helps address some of the biggest challenges that we see daily in our work, from expanding land access so people can grow food, to finding ways of opening markets so our farmers can build successful businesses. We are grateful for the partnerships of local government so far, including our recently opened community garden on city land at Gear Library, and we look forward to the many ways this plan will strengthen our partnerships across the community to continue growing local food. This plan is monumental because it shows government's recognition of the importance of food and agriculture in the long-term vision of the community. The community feedback and conversations that this plan initiated shows the amazing things that can happen when we commit to setting a shared vision for a better future. Lincoln can be a model for how local food can help a community thrive, and this plan is an important step towards that vision. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to the passage of this plan and for continuing the work to make this vision a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for our testifier? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Sir, the floor is yours.
Barry, B-A-R-R-I-E, Marchant, M-A-R-C-H-A-N-T, at 611 North 26th Street. And I'm here speaking on behalf of Citizens Climate Lobby, which is a local group dedicated to a bipartisan effort against climate change. Have a group effort here. The food group calls for access to healthy foods for all and an increase in local food production, promoting good production practices to protect the soil, water, and air and reduce food waste. Every year, most of the food we eat in Lincoln is flown in, about 90% of it. Grocery stores stock limited amounts of inventory, and that makes for a fragile service system. As we move into more unpredictable weather because of climate change, risks to producers and supply chains will increase. The food plan follows the 2020 Climate Action Plan and the 2021 through 2027 Climate Action Plans that was adopted by the City Council. We would like to specifically thank both Dr. Megan McGuffey, Tim Renna, and Tammy Ward, who worked on this plan a great deal. We appreciate the efforts that they put into this, and we would really encourage you all to approve this plan. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for our testifier? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Welcome.
Thank you. Nash Leaf. I am a resident of 2445 B Street here in Lincoln. So I am also a co-owner of Salt Creek Farmers Cooperative, which was founded just last year, actually, as part of an effort to get small producers, young producers especially, access to farmland as well as the implements to produce food for our community. So as Sharuth touched on, our community is driven and sustained by the food we eat. And it is becoming increasingly difficult for residents like myself, especially young and beginning farmers, to get access to things like land, education, and the implements to farm that land. As land prices go up around the city, I believe that plans such as this are going to be needed so that we can come at these problems with an organized and efficient approach. I am, like I said, a co-owner of Salt Creek Farmers Cooperative, but most of us were farmers just 3 generations ago here in Nebraska, so we are all connected to the land in one way or another. I believe that this plan will lay the framework to ensure that farmers thrive and can feed this community for years to come, as well as laying the groundwork to grant access to affordable land and capital to deliver that produce to the tables that need it the most. I believe that this plan will help establish means for technical assistance and training programs to be established, as well as establish pathways for future collaboration between growers and local government officials. This plan will also create a framework for a resilient and sustainable urban landscape, which is just as important as the physical or infrastructure that we have established. I believe this will also lay out important next steps to ensure high quality food makes it to the tables that need it most. However, this is only the beginning. This plan does not allocate any budget, and so it is just a framework that we can build off of in generations to come. It was also my pleasure to act as a member of the steering committee for this plan to help ensure that it does look out for the needs of farmers. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. Any questions for our testifier? Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Gary Fair, personal address 3740 Everett Street, Green School Farms. Members of Lincoln City Council, my name is Gary Fair, and I am the owner-operator of Green School Farms, a small-scale vegetable farm located in Lancaster County near Raymond, Nebraska. I'm speaking to you today to urge your support of local food by adopting the local food system plan into the Lincoln Lancaster 2050 comprehensive plan. As a small-scale vegetable grower, I grow and sell my products in many ways typical for a farm my size. Farmers markets, weekly veggie boxes, modest sales to wholesale customers such as schools, grocery stores, and other institutions. A primary focus of my particular farm is farm to school, meaning that I work with schools to get fresh, healthy food into cafeterias, help educate students and staff about where their food comes from, and consult for other agencies such as Nebraska Department of Education and the nonprofit Partnership for Healthy Lincoln to help promote and train others to participate in farm to school and to establish food hubs that can bring together products from multiple farms into multiple schools. The local food system plan expertly identifies the components of a food system as a collection of interrelated services that go well beyond simply growing food. And this certainly applies when we talk about farm to school. The food has to be distributed, processed, sold, prepared, consumed, and waste managed, all in sustainable ways. These are aspects that individual small farms or schools, no matter how passionate, simply can't achieve to any scale in isolation. Having a local food plan in place will provide a common framework and basis of collaboration for all of the many passionate individuals and organizations already working in farm to school, not to mention the other important aspects of our city to which local food relates. Such a plan will provide a guiding framework to unify our efforts, enabling us to build effective systems that will have a multiplier effect on individual contributions. This will provide economic and community benefits that will raise the boats, so as it were, for all of us as a community. I want to thank you for providing this moment to advocate for adoption of this local food plan. I very much look forward to seeing what will arise when we collectively unite our efforts in creation of something truly transformative for our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. Any questions for our testifier? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Tim, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Renna. I live at 605 North 26th Street in the Holly Hamlet Neighborhood Garden, and I was a co-chair of the Mayor's Committee, the Community Committee on Local Food. I am so gratified to be here today, to be actually talking about a City Council adoption of a local food system plan. This is a big deal for our community. But it's also a big deal for me personally, as it was exactly 10 years ago this fall that I began working on local food as a public policy issue. For a decade now, I have done my utmost to be a pest, a nag, a wheedler, and a whiner about the importance of local food. And lo and behold, with the efforts of hundreds of friends and allies, here we are today, actually assembled to discuss this untapped economic opportunity. But before I go any further, I want to publicly thank former City Councilwoman Tammy Ward and Mayor Leary Gaylord Baird for their leadership in building a resilient local food system. Both of these women deserve special acknowledgement, as we wouldn't be here today without their vision and resolve. 10 years is a long time to be a pest and a nag, but my motives have been honorable. Not only did I want the City of Lincoln to seize on this economic opportunity to stop the hemorrhage of 90% of our food dollars out of state, to enrich our community and county, and to grow our local prosperity literally from the ground up. I also wanted to spare everyone else the mistake I made for 53 straight years of constantly eating and never missing a meal, but never once paying the least attention to where that food came from or the security of our food supply. How I could have constantly been jamming something down my throat all those years, but never gave a minute's thought to how that food got to my plate, I'll never know, but I did it. Taking my food for granted, I forgot that food is literally the foundation of everything we do. We couldn't even be meeting here today to talk about a food plan if we hadn't had regular meals to keep ourselves nourished. Food is basic to life. Everyone eats. In my 68 years of life, I've yet to meet anyone who doesn't. Liberals and conservatives, men and women, young and old, every color and creed, we all eat. And as we all eat, we all have a stake in the security of our food supply, knowing that it's safe, ample, and resilient. There's no downside to increasing our food security by building a resilient local food system? None. The only downside is not doing it. Our global food system has brought us unbelievable variety and availability. But with Nebraskans now importing 90% of what we eat, we've also become vulnerable, dependent on others to feed us. The average bite of food we eat travels 1,500 miles to get to our mouths. Every day, over 1.5 million pounds of food must be shipped into our capital city to meet our residents' dietary needs. Counting on those delivery trucks coming in, grocery stores and restaurants stock just 3 days' worth of inventory. And as we saw with the COVID pandemic, workforce disruption, transportation bottlenecks, and supply shortages can interrupt that delivery system, increasing food prices and leaving grocery store shelves bare. Then there's climate change. California, which supplies over half of America's nuts, fruits, and vegetables, has been assailed in just the last 5 years by record drought, record heat, record wildfires, record flooding, and despite the floods, depleted freshwater sources, jeopardizing its ability to produce food. And then there's international turmoil. The war in Ukraine has disrupted the production and export of food in one of the world's premier breadbaskets, sending shocks throughout the global food system. We'd like to think those events don't have anything to do with us, that because it's over there, we're immune. But with the overwhelming majority of everything we eat connected to the global food system, we're not. What happens elsewhere invariably hits home. Getting Nebraska, a breadbasket in its own right, back in the business of growing some of its own food for its residents is just good sense. In a hotter, drier, stormier climate, growing what we can just increases the chances we'll always have something to eat. Not having grown food for local consumption since the 1950s, as a state and a city, we have some catching up to do. Building a resilient local food system will be an enterprise years in the making, and it will require the active involvement of local government. By adopting this local food system plan today, Lincoln City government can take its first step on the road to a more food-secure future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. Questions for our testifier? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 5B? Please come forward. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Amy Tabor. I'm the general manager at Open Harvest at 1618 South Street. As a cooperatively owned, community-centered grocery store, Open Harvest is in support of the local food system plan and urge City Council to approve it. Since 1975, Open Harvest has worked with local farmers and food businesses to provide the healthiest products for our customers, food that is good for the planet and for the people who provide it as well. Fast forward 48 years, and 27% of all of our sales come from the 68 local food vendors, food that is grown and created within 200 miles of the store or within the state of Nebraska. During the pandemic, just as Tim so clearly illustrated, we saw firsthand the fragility of our global food system and transportation system. It was quite unsettling. This local food plan will help strengthen food security for all in Lancaster County. The co-op is excited to see this plan succeed and to provide the assistance and support it needs, and as these plans and policies come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions for Amy before she leaves? Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 5B? Anyone else here who would like to testify under 5B? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to 5C.
Item 5C is approving the interlocal cooperation agreement for Salt Creek Levee Trail between the City of Lincoln and the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District for the operation and maintenance of the Salt Creek Levee Trail.
Director, welcome.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to put this map up. It's in your packet. It's maybe bigger than the Elmo will allow. Maggie Stuckey-Ross, Director of Parks and Recreation, 3131 O Street. So the Salt Creek Levee Trail is constructed on top of the Salt Creek Levee from Calvert Street and is now completed all the way to Superior Street. The trail has been constructed over the last several decades by the Lower Platte South NRD. The land ownership pattern along the trail, which you can see in your enclosures, is a combination of city, NRD, the UNL Board of Regents, and several private landowners. The trail was constructed through agreements between these landowners and the NRD. Over the course of its existence, the maintenance of the levee itself is the responsibility of the NRD, while the trail is maintained by the City of Lincoln. And the eventual goal was always to turn over the trail to city ownership. However, after a closer review of what would need to be accomplished between the city, the NRD, UNL, and other landowners in order to transfer ownership incomplete, it was determined that this would be a significant effort and there would be a better way to do this. So the agreement before you today is very similar to the interlocals that we have been operating under for this trail. It obligates the city with the maintenance of the trail, the surface, trail improvements, and mowing of that segment. The NRD will continue to be responsible for the maintenance of the surrounding property, including the levees. The complexities, again, of the land ownership and the easements would make land transfer extremely difficult. So this agreement has worked in the past, and staff feels like there's no concern about continuing with this agreement in lieu of a transfer. Again, it's a 20-year agreement with a 10-year extension, and I'm happy to take any questions. I would note the Board of Commissioners at the NRD has approved this agreement and forwarded it to you for consideration.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any questions for Maggie? Councilwoman, yes, please.
Director Stuckey-Ross, thank you for coming down and explaining this. I do have one question. You answered the other question that I had, which was that the levees would be retained in ownership by the NRD.
That's right.
But when I look at the trail and it's in dark red and dark blue.
That's right.
Are the dark blue sections that are owned by the NRD, are they too going to be managed by the city, just the trail surface?
That's right.
Okay, you're just distinguishing who owns.
That's correct, just for the purposes of explaining the complex nature of this trail, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Director Stuckey-Ross? All right, very good.
Okay,
Thank you. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5C? Anyone else here who'd like to speak on item 5C? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 5D.
Item 5D is approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and Seward County, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, and support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Seward County Aging Services Program.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Kay Wenzel. I'm the Assistant Director at Aging Partners, 600 South 70th, Building 2, our new building. Aging Partners has before you six interlocal agreements before the City Council that are between the City of Lincoln and 6 counties within our area agency on aging service area. Seward County is the first one, and then followed by the remaining counties that we cover with these interlocal agreements. The interlocal agreements will provide direction on activities and services to the counties. And I want to point out that it's only using state and federal funding. There's no city dollars that are used to provide services under the interlocal agreement. They define the responsibilities and the operation, management, monitoring, and ongoing work regarding what the counties will do, and then what our responsibilities are from Aging Partners. We follow these up with annual subawards that define the exact services and the dollar amounts for each county.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none.
All right.
Thank you. Don't go far.
Yes, I know.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5C? Anyone else here for 5C? Very good. Let's move on to 5D.
That was correction. We did just read item 5D, and I was inquiring with council if it would be all right if I could call the remaining items for Aging Partners, item 5E through 5I to the record.
Yes, let's do so. And pardon my error on 5D there.
I'll be calling item 5E through 5I. approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and County of Saline, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Saline County Senior Services Program, along with the remaining Fillmore County Senior Services Program, Polk County Senior Services Program, York County Senior Services Program, and item 5I, which is Butler County Senior Services Program.
Very good. More of the same.
Yes. Nothing additional to add from our side.
Okay, nothing additional to add. Very good. Any questions about specifics, since we're talking about different particular counties here?
I actually took the time to read each of them, and they're all identical.
They are.
Yeah.
It's more efficient that way.
Yeah, it's very efficient that way. I think the only difference I noticed was the signature date for each county, and I appreciate that each county has their own process.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we've got them all collected now, and we can move forward.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 5E, 5F, 5G, 5H, or 5I? Anyone else here to speak on any of those items? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 5J and K.
I'll be calling items 5J and K together. 5J is approving the Epworth Church redevelopment agreement between the city and Bell Tower LLC relating to the redevelopment of the property generally located at 2980 Holdridge Street and the related fiscal year 22-23 CIP to authorize and appropriate $385,240 TIF funds for the Epworth Church redevelopment project.
Peter, welcome.
Hello, Peter Hine, Director of Urban Development, 555 South 10th Street. Felt good to say that for the first time. We're here for 5J and 5K today, same project, the Epworth Church. I'll just go through some of the background and facts pretty quickly, and then Scott Sullivan is here to discuss it, and then of course Ernie is here as well, who's been working on the project since the beginning. On June 14th, Lancaster County Planning Commission voted 9-0 in finding conformance with the comprehensive plan for the project. On July 17th, City Council approved conformance with the comprehensive plan for this project. This project involves remodel of an historic church located at 2980 Holdridge Street. I will put this on there. What did I do wrong?
It'll magically appear.
There it is.
There it is.
And what you're seeing in the white cross hatching is really the TIF boundary that we've identified for the project. And we're going to talk just a little bit about alley paving, and that alley paving is going to happen on the east side of the facility from Holdridge to the other sort of intersecting alley next to it. With the remodel, the building has been for sale for a long time. And part of what's going to happen here too is new heat pumps and LED lighting for the project, 20 parking stalls. It includes 11 apartments and renovation for pretty much everything, and then a future daycare use on the ground floor. This has a special permit with historic preservation for up to 19 units. I think that's important to mention. And the developer has met with the Clinton Neighborhood Association and has received positive feedback from them. The Historic Preservation Committee has unanimously recommended approval for the project and has reviewed and approved the masonry exterior renovation for the project. The developer is investing, and I'm sure Scott will talk about this a little bit more, $20 million that generates $385,000 in TIF. And if you need to have more specific information on the TIF breakdown, we can certainly provide that as well. But really, this is for site acquisition and alley paving for the project. And then 2 of the units out of the 11, about 20%, will be affordable at the 60% area of median income for 20 years. That'll be part of it. And that this is a small TIF project, so there's going to be no bond associated with this. And I'd just like to add, before I turn it over to Scott to present it, one of the things that you're going to start hearing from my chair is the idea that the most sustainable building we can build is actually already built. And so this is a really great example of use of an existing building that has been
having some issues and some challenges going forward, and we have someone who's here to sort of breathe new life into it. So, any questions?
Any questions for Director?
I think I have one question. It has to do with the facade easement. Can you tell me a little bit about, I noticed that the facade easement only lasts for 20 years, the length of this agreement. If I'm wrong, please correct that. And then during the length of that easement time period, what does the city need to do to maintain that facade? Do we have any responsibilities?
That's a great question. I think I'll turn it over to Ernie to answer that for you if you can, Councilwoman.
Ernie Castillo, Urban Development. We will do a facade agreement with the Register of Deeds, but the city will not have any upkeep or maintenance of the facade.
Will we have a review process to make sure that the facade is being kept the way we've agreed?
Scott went to Historic Preservation and received those approvals. Once the project is complete, even though there's no TIF involved with facade reimbursements, staff does go out and make sure that what is presented in the agreement and what you're agreeing to is what's built.
Thank you.
But
Anything
All
else
right.
for me?
Anything else for Director? Otherwise, shall we turn it over to Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, welcome.
Thank you. Scott Sullivan, 2101 Wilderness Ridge Drive. I am here as both architect and developer for this project. And as Peter said, this is a building that, as I've presented before, unfortunately has gone through years of deferred maintenance. The first priority is some very basic structural issues of tuck pointing the stone, environmental concerns inside with asbestos abatement, windows that I'm trying to preserve. There's some beautiful stained glass windows throughout the church that we're working to preserve those. And as was mentioned, each step of any exterior work is going before the local Historic Preservation Commission, and we already had some meetings about everything from color of mortar to how we're treating the windows. So that's some of that background information is already underway. So simply said best by Peter that this is an opportunity to preserve a building that unfortunately has been ignored for a long time. One correction, my pocket is not 20 million, it's 2 million guaranteed on the project.
That's right.
Any questions?
Any questions for Scott?
Oh, great project.
Councilwoman, yes.
Yes. I have a question. I wanted to know how many apartment units are you building to begin with? And secondly, if the classroom addition, it said its use right now is community space. Is that the daycare?
Actually, right now, the building's vacant.
Right, but your proposal?
The classroom addition to the east was done in the 60s. And it is set up fairly nicely for daycare. That's what initiated the idea, and I've been working with some local organizations such as Lincoln Littles, working to get a daycare component.
Mm-hmm.
This is on the same block as Clinton School, so the adjacency of both housing and daycare is very intriguing to me, so I like the notion of the mixed use. The church itself would, right now my design plans have 11 units in it. It's a 3-level building, even though it looks like 2 from the outside. And the east addition, daycare providers are interested in both floors. If that doesn't help, and there's the potential for 6 to 8 additional units in that side.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and if you add additional housing units in the classroom addition, would you increase the number of units that are affordable?
If I understand correctly, the current outline does not note that. Again, the first priority is the daycare, but there hasn't been discussion otherwise of increasing that number.
Okay. And then in your affordable units, do you know right now which, is it the 2-bedroom, the 1-bedroom that you'd make affordable?
I'm not aware that I even specify which are.
Right.
It's just that I always maintain that number.
Okay.
I can tell you that the church right now, of the 11 units, 7 of those are 2-bedroom units. Correct, 8 and 3. 8 2-bedroom units and 3 1-bedroom units. But it's my understanding it could be whatever comes up to meet that
I was just curious.
stipulation.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Scott? Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on items 5J or 5K? Anyone else here who would like to testify on items 5J or 5K? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and move to our voting session, starting with 5B.
Item 5B is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23009, application of the City of Lincoln to amend the Lincoln-Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to adopt and incorporate into the comprehensive plan the local food system plan, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Carlson. Discussion? Councilman.
Thank you, Chair Beckius. I'm going to support this amendment to incorporate the local food system, which will lead to a more sustainable and resilient food supply chain by increasing access to healthy food and healthy and nutritious food, as well as investing in the local food system. But I really wanted to echo the thank yous to my predecessor on the council, Tammy Ward, who was on the steering committee, and for her leadership on this issue. I wanted to thank her on behalf of the entire city of Lincoln. And I look forward to supporting this amendment because I think the past few years have shown how crucial it really is. So thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Councilwoman, yes.
I just wanted to say, I received a lot of letters, emails about this and asking for my support, and I just wanted to say out loud, this wasn't easy. This makes sense. It falls clearly within the climate plan that we have for our community, and food, as it was noted by a number of people, is critical. And so with that, I can support food security for all of us. So it's easy to support this one.
Councilman.
I just want to say what a great opportunity for new farmers and people that want to get involved in this, and I think that's why I'd like to support this as well. I think it's just a great opportunity for young people. So thank you for doing your hard work.
Very good. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Yeah, got all choked up. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine's going to be simple. This is the start of something really good for our community. So.
Very good. Anyone else? All right. Very good. Thank you to all the leaders that worked on this plan. We really appreciate it very much. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Weber?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5C is approving the interlocal cooperation agreement for Salt Creek Levee Trail between the City of Lincoln and the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District for the operation and maintenance of the Salt Creek Levee Trail, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5D is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and Seward County, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Seward County Aging Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5E is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and County of Saline, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Saline County Senior Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved Weber, seconded Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5F is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and Fillmore County, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of Fillmore County Senior Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Weber, Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5G is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and Polk County, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Polk County Senior Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second?
Moved Weber, seconded Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5H is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and York County, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the York County Senior Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved Weber, seconded Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5I is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln and the County of Butler, Nebraska to define the mutual and separate responsibilities of each in the operation, management, support, monitoring, and evaluation of the Butler County Senior Services Program, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second?
Moved Weber, seconded Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5J is approving the Upworth Church redevelopment agreement between the city and Bell Tower LLC relating to the redevelopment of the property generally located at 2980 Holdridge Street, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second?
Moved Weber, seconded Carlson. Discussion? I'll just quickly say, this project is going to be a cool project to watch. I'm very excited that we've gotten to the point of the redevelopment agreement and the TIF funds. Scott, thank you for working on this project. This will be something to watch, so thank you. Please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5K is amending the fiscal year 22-23 CIP to authorize and appropriate $385,240 in TIF funds for the Epworth Church redevelopment project, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Okay. That concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6, our public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. Item 6A is change of zone 15013B, application of Leo Schumacher to amend the Tower Heights Plan Unit Development to change the zoning designation from O3 Office Park District to B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District on the property generally located at the southwest corner of South 52nd Street and Yankee Hill Road.
Mr. Marshall, welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Brad Marshall with Olson, 601 P Street. I'm here on behalf of Lincoln Federal Bancorp. We have an application for amendment to the Tower Heights PUD. When this was originally approved and worked on back in 2016, there was a component of the PUD that provided, there's a pipeline planning area and a B2 area along Yankee Hill Road. There was a corner of the development that had an O3 designation. That O3 designation was compromised, or not compromised, coordinated with the planning department, such that to the east is an AGR acreage development. To the south is an R3 townhome area that is part of the PUD, and during the last 7 years, things have been a little slow out there. The residential area has started, and we've had an interested party come forward on the corner lot. I do have a couple of exhibits so we can be clear as to the area that we're talking about, because when we came through planning department, or planning commission, I should say, there was a little misunderstanding as to where exactly it included and what lots were included. So I have the entire PUD shown here, and this corner lot highlighted. So that is primarily what we're talking about, is the changes specific to that one particular use. The current plan shows an 03 office building, parking lot, 2-story, 30,000 square feet right now. And so what that office building could be conceivably is office uses, a bank, financial institution with drive-through. It could be a veterinary clinic or even a hotel. And so I had this used on another project. I'm going to use it here. This is a 2-story office. This is a medical office building, but it gives you a good view, I think, of what we could be looking at as approved today. This is taken from the street view, and conceivably, this building could even be about 60 or 70 feet closer to the roadway as the current PUD allows. So we had a local business approach the owner of these lots out there. They are in current discussions for their other B2 areas, and so it came down to this 03 area. The particular business has some very good alignment with the 03. They don't have a whole lot of volume. They see 10 to 15 customers per day. They carry business hours just similar to office, and maybe even a little less. They actually have Friday afternoons off. And so we devised the application forward to the planning department such that it was an modified 03 that would allow an auto service center on this particular lot. Planning department said, okay, we usually make decisions such that we're not so short-sighted on decisions, and there could be a multitude of things. If this owner goes away, or this potential purchaser of the lot goes away, we want to make sure that we are working such that has some flexibility built into the plan. So we were agreeable. The suggestion from the planning department was that we eliminate the 03 and we adopt a B2 on the corner with some concessions. Because when we came forward, we had some plans. We had a plan to help buffer that I've done on a couple of similar type projects. And so some of the alignment that we had put together with the proposal of the B2 area were really threefold. So the south area, as I mentioned, is R3. The east area are AGR. Their height limitation is 35 feet. You could build a house, it could be 35 feet in height. So we would match that height. We would restrict it to that height so that you wouldn't have anything that would be 3 or more stories. Technically, we're looking at a 1-story type of configuration here. In addition to that, we would move the setback off of South 52nd Street from 20 to 30 feet, and we would require a screening standard such that, I think the planning department actually put in their draft a double row of like coniferous type trees, so that there would be a landscape screening that would be blocking that. And those are things that we negotiated through the process of what could be that could be a good type of buffer area with the change in uses on this particular lot. So I think that's pretty much it. The particular use I know is a auto service center. These are some renderings that the potential buyer had put together for the facility. The development does have, and the developer does have, design approval on the architectural standards and so forth. One of the main things at Planning Commission that we talked about was the business itself. You think of open doors and you hear hydraulics or the guns rattling off wheels and so forth. And so the bay doors for the buyer, they actually they climate control everything in the summer and the winter. So I mean the doors are down, and so the intent is that those doors are down. I went by I went by, I'll just, like a Jiffy Lube or something like that the other day, and the doors were wide open. And I will concede, there was a question like, how do we regulate that? Well, I'm not sure that there is a great way to regulate it. The other thing was that there was noise concerns of just like loudspeakers. We did say that absolutely add that to the and that was one of the things that was added to the Planning Commission approval. It was amended such that there was no outdoor speakers, just because that was something that we presented in our application letter, that would not be something that the buyer of this particular lot would wanting. So they wouldn't be calling, like I said, there's not a whole lot of volume of customers as such they're calling up the next customer or something, or calling out staff to go get cars or something. This is, it's just over an acre lot, and so we did add that very willingly to the Planning Commission recommendation for approval, which was passed unanimously. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Brad. Any questions for Mr. Marshall? Councilwoman, yes, please.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Marshall.
Afternoon.
In reading through the report and the letters of opposition that the project had when it came before the Planning Commission, I just wanted to follow up just a smidge. I appreciate the no outside speaker being added. I know that was a concern of at least one person. But they had, I think, a question about exterior lighting, and I wanted to know, has the applicant made any changes to the exterior lighting, or is there anything about the exterior lighting that we should understand?
Not particularly. We just made a clarification that we'd have to meet the current standard for lighting if it were 03 or B2. So there cannot be, per the standards, there can't be light trespass beyond that. In addition to that, those landscape buffers, if we were to adopt, if it were to be some type of use in there, that should help eliminate some of that lighting concern.
Okay. And then there was a question that I don't think was answered yet, and that had to do with some environmental concerns about contaminants and what's going to happen with fluids that might be stored on site or taken out of vehicles. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll answer kind of the way I did. I'm not an expert in permitting of environmental items, but this is something that's going to be regulated throughout the process of building permit. And I mean, this isn't the first auto dealership or quick oil change or something like that be dealing with oils or transmission fluids or something like that. So I'd have to defer probably Health and Human Services for any type of preventing oversight on that there, but it would not be any different than other particular uses around the city of Lincoln.
okay, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Marshall? Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6A? Anyone else here who would like to speak on 6A? All right, very good. Any questions for staff at all, or council members feeling okay moving on? Okay, very good. Mr. Marshall, thank you. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk, could you please call 6B?
Item 6B is amending Section 12.08.270 of the Lincoln Municipal Code relating to the alcoholic liquor prohibited, exceptions and permit requirements to amend the alcohol prohibitions at Lincoln Children's Zoo and repealing Section 3 of Ordinance Number 19120, passed on August 11, 2008, which requires the Parks and Recreation Department to provide an annual written report to the Internal Liquor Committee due to the lack of any action or any reportable liquor violations for the past 10 years.
Ms. Pierce, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Denise Pierce. That's P-E-A-R-C-E. I'm with Lincoln Parks and Rec, and we're at 3131 O Street, Suite 300. I am here with Evan Colleen today, who is the CEO of the Lincoln Children's Museum, and we'll be co-presenting on 6B here related to when alcohol is allowed in our city parks and in our park facilities. I will start off with just a very brief introduction to the topic before I turn it over to Evan to talk about the zoo proposal. Generally speaking, no alcohol in our parks or park facilities unless there's a specific exception in the city code that allows it. And those exceptions are in 12.08.270 of the code, and that's what we're amending or proposing to amend today. The amendment before you does 4 main things, and we'll start with the most significant one. And if you look on page 2, subsection F, this amendment proposes to expand when alcohol is allowed at the zoo. You'll see that current ordinance allows alcohol at the zoo for events which, when, quote, the zoo is not otherwise open to the general public. And it's that language there that has created some gray area when we're talking about ticketed events like brews at the zoo. For brews at the zoo, you have to have a separate ticket to get in. You can't use your general membership card or pay the general admission fee. Typically, these tickets are sold in advance, but depending on availability on a particular night or depending on capacity on a particular night, I may be able to walk up to the zoo gate and buy a ticket for brews at the zoo. And that's the type of situation that's creating a gray area. If I can come up and buy a ticket, does that mean the zoo is open to the public for that event? So the new language that we worked closely with city law on clarifies that open to the public, what we really mean is open to the public via that general admission fee, or if you're a member, via your membership card. So when we're talking again about ticketed events like brews at the zoo, where attendees are getting in with a separate ticket from their general membership fee, alcohol would continue to be allowed at those types of events. The proposed language goes on then to also indicate that alcohol would be allowed in that green space area north of A Street where the tent sits, as well as the adjacent multipurpose building, multipurpose room, when, again, the general public does not have access to those locations. So what does that mean in practice? That means that when the zoo is open on a Saturday afternoon, Evan and his team could host, his events team could host an event with alcohol on that green space under the tent, again, so long as the general public is not allowed into that area. These changes together then would open the door to alcohol at a increasingly popular event at the zoo, Zoo Lights, and I'm going to turn it over to Evan to talk a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Denise. Evan Killeen, Lincoln Children's Zoo, 1222 South 27th Street. Thanks for having me here today. So as Denise said, this would also impact other events like Zoo Lights. Zoo Lights was first thought of in 2018. We opened our first Zoo Lights in 2019, and it has been incredibly successful. Zoo Lights, along with the expansion that we had in 2019 of $26 million, has really changed the Lincoln Children's Zoo. We've seen rapid growth, and the community loves their zoo. So Zoo Lights now accounts for 12% of our entire year's budget. Events programming brings in about $1 million, and all of these funds go to supporting the best care for the animals and to provide enriching and engaging experiences for children and families and allow us to better serve the community. Although we sit on city property, you know that we're unlike most other zoos where we don't receive any public funding. We rely on admissions, memberships, and events like this to help us continue our mission. Like other organizations and event companies, we have some experiences that lend themselves to responsible alcohol consumption. Brews at the Zoo would be a great example of this. We've been doing Brews at the Zoo for over a decade now. Brews at the Zoo provides fun after-hours experiences for those 21 and older, and it's been an incredible asset for the zoo and the community in terms of revenue, but also a reach to adults that may not typically come to the zoo. Now, this change in language would clarify some confusion regarding when the zoo can offer alcohol, but it would also allow us the opportunity to offer our guests adult beverages during Zoo Lights powered by LES, our holiday event. We hope to add this to the current event and provide additional seasonal offerings for those 21 and older in attendance. Responsible alcohol service is a top priority for us at the zoo, and we have held an exemplary record since we first established our liquor license. Zoo Lights would be no exception. In considering this offering, our team has worked to create an extensive protocol and proposal to safely serve our guests and ensure the best experience for all that attend. We have worked with Officers Peterson and Parker on our plans to create the best possible way to execute this service. Taking notes from UNL Volleyball Day and the Garth Brooks concert at PBA, we're confident that we can provide this offering. Some considerations to highlight that we have created in our plan are wristbands with a 2-drink maximum, signage or QR codes for Lyft and Uber options, as well as a designated safe ride lane at the event, the highest level in training for all of our staff and management, added security throughout the event and at the exits, easily identifiable cups designated for alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages. And these are just a couple of the things that we've been talking about as far as our policies go in regards to this event. I'm happy to take any more questions. I thank you for your time and consideration, but I'm going to turn the floor back to Denise because I know there are more things.
Thank you, Evan. I've got just a couple more quick things that the ordinance does. Second, if you look on line 7 of page 2, we're also adding a clarification to the section regarding Pinewood Bowl. So the arena operator, I believe it's ASM now, manages the arena for us, and they also manage the Pinewood Bowl concert series for us. The Parks Department doesn't really sponsor those events, and that's the language that's currently used in the code right now. What we do is coordinate with ASM as they are identifying potential artists and then approving dates regarding the park's availability. So you'll see that technical language change there on page 2, line 7. The third change then, if you turn to page 3 of the amendment, you'll see that we propose repealing a section of an ordinance that was adopted about 15 years ago or so. So back in 2008, this ordinance looked really different. Alcohol, when it comes to parks, was allowed only on golf courses, Children's Museum, and the Lincoln Children's Zoo. So it looked quite a bit different. At that time, the City Council adopted the language, again in 2008, that you see in subsection 3, and that's on the top of page 2, line 1. And that basically allows alcohol in certain parks for fundraising purposes. And that was, I imagine, a big deal at the time. At the same time this was adopted, language was added requiring the department to provide a report on these events that are outlined in subsection C. And this report was supposed to go to the Internal Liquor Commission, outlining the name, date, location of each of the fundraising events in these designated parks, the name of the SDL applicants associated with those events, and then any details regarding any complaints, disturbances, criminal actions, liquor license violations that had occurred at any of these events. For whatever reason, that reporting element did not make its way into the city code. And I will say that after conversations with both present staff as well as prior staff of both the department and the foundation, I think there was a couple things at play. One, when we did have these events in the past at parks, there were no issues. We did not have issues with disturbances. There were no criminal violations. So there wasn't much to report based on those events. Now talking to Maggie, current director of Parks and Rec, she was the foundation director for a number of years before that, dating back to 17. She does not recall any events with alcohol that the foundation had sponsored at any of these parks that are delineated in the code. So given those circumstances, we as a department are suggesting perhaps it's time to repeal that particular reporting ordinance or that reporting requirement. The last change then is also in subsection C there. You'll see a reference to the Jane Snyder Trails Center that is stricken in line 2 of page 2. Several years after subsection C was adopted, we added subsection E that deals specifically with the Jane. So that striking in page 2, line 2 is just a clarification. That is all we have, and we would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, very good. Thank you, Denise. Do we have any questions at this point in time for Denise or Evan?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just
Councilman
gonna say,
Carlson.
Evan, zoo lights, that fits into this great. Do you see other events maybe coming forward that you would potentially
So
serve
obviously,
alcohol
this
to,
change in the city ordinance would allow us to possibly do some things. Right now, we don't have any additional plans for events. If you did look around the country, and zoo lights and kind of this model that we're talking about really is the same that you would see at the Columbus Zoo or Cincinnati Zoo or any of the other major zoos around the country. If you looked at some of those places, I think Walt Disney has a fancy food and wine events. There are probably some other possibilities, but at this point in time, the staff doesn't have any plans.
Sure. Okay.
We're pretty busy.
Sure. Yeah, I bet.
Councilman Carlson, any other
No,
questions?
no,
Okay,
thank you.
Very good. Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Killeen, you and I had a great conversation. I can see some of that in the subsequent conversations you had with folks looking at how to operationalize this. But I think being a member of the Park and Rec Advisory Board back at the time when we were looking at that for the first time, I have to ask a couple of questions. One of them, really the basic, I'm going to ask one question. I'm going to erase all the other questions I had in my head and only ask one question. So I know that there's a proposal to strike the reporting language, but at the point that we are now stepping into a situation where we're allowing alcohol, or we might allow alcohol at the zoo when it's an under 21-year-old event, I don't think is the right time to get rid of the reporting. I think we could probably slim down the reporting, and I've asked the city attorney to take a look at how we could do that in a way that's not clunky. But I would like to know, because I also want to move the reporting from Parks and Rec to the zoo. So I'd like your opinion about how you think you might be able to handle some reporting of events, like what's happening, how's it working, how are are there any violations and things like that. Is that something your staff could do?
Yes, and I'm very open to doing that, especially the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I think that's a great idea. I know the staff in their discussions with Officers Peterson and Parker talked about at the end of the year having kind of a debrief, talking about any incidences we had, whether they were rose to the level of needing to be reported or whether they were minor enough, still kind of recapping those at the end of the year with the officers. But I think coming in, and I know I had a conversation with Denise and Director about coming and doing that, and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful to have that delivered both to Park and Rec Advisory Board as well as the Internal Liquor Committee. Just so that we all are on the same page, we know what's happening, and if it's running smoothly,
Definitely
2 thumbs up.
Open to that. I don't know if that's an amendment. I let you guys do.
I'm going to work with the city attorney to make certain that it's easy and smooth and understandable.
Any other questions? Evan, I do have a couple of questions for you. I'm going to piggyback off of Councilwoman Washington's points here. Any sort of, I appreciate the willingness to go above and beyond when it comes to a reporting mechanism. Certainly if this was any other alcohol provider, and certainly if it wasn't on city property, we wouldn't really have any sort of interaction in this regard, in this way. But I do appreciate your willingness to do that, because this is an extraordinary circumstance in which we find ourselves. But I did want to ask specifically, you have been serving alcohol for a number of years, and you did address this a little while during your your testimony here, but can you detail any problems that the zoo has had in terms of serving alcohol at events, violations, anything that comes to mind at this point in time?
It's really, we haven't had anything very major at all, so.
Okay.
It hasn't been a problem.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and you know the partnership between the City of Lincoln and the Lincoln Children's Zoo has obviously been very strong for a very long time, and we want to make sure that we're able to supply you the tools that you need to be successful, while also making sure that constituents and families are well taken care of in the community. You have an awesome reputation for doing just that in our community. I just wanted to thank you for the time and consideration and additional considerations that may be asked. We appreciate that very much.
Thanks.
Very good. All right, seeing no other questions, I appreciate it. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Evan.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6B? Anyone else here to speak on item 6B? All right, very good. Let's move on.
That concludes section 6 of our agenda. Section 7 is our resolutions first readings, which are items 7A through 7H. Section 8 of our agenda is ordinances first reading and related resolutions, items 8A through 8D. And section 9 is our pending list, item 9A.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tonight, anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda, nor for an item planned to appear on a future agenda, may do so at the open microphone session. Tonight is that night. Individuals are allowed 5 minutes to speak, regardless of the number of topics. Again, tonight is one of the open microphone sessions, followed next week, actually, by September 25th, due to some of our days off. So if there is anyone here who would like to speak during public comment, now is your time. Is there anyone? Please come forward. Welcome. And you can use either side.
Well, I guess it don't make any difference.
If you would just start with your name and address, sir.
Robert Klotz, 600 West Broadview, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Welcome, Robert.
Senator Brewer understands fully the need for law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves. That is why he introduced LB 77, giving law-abiding citizens freedom from fear of being made into a criminal when they went into a city. Quite alarmingly, the mayor unilaterally established the restrictions through her executive order and further endangered the very people she is sworn to protect from danger. Why? Parks are not buildings where officials may be confronted by angry individuals. Parks are places where the weak can be confronted by a real criminal predator. Now remember, an executive order is not carte blanche authority. It is tempered by the contract we the people made with the government that keeps the power under the thumb of the people and not the people under the thumb of the government. As you know, there is a difference between private property and public property. City parks are public property, financed by people having every right to use them. City parks are not the mayor's private property, in which she may unilaterally discriminate by excluding the people from the parks who wish to exercise their constitutional Second Amendment right as they enjoy their park. So what does this all mean? By signing the questionable executive order taking away the right of an individual to protect themselves, the mayor has now assumed that responsibility for herself and taxpayers. In the same way, private stores assume that responsibility when they put up a no guns allowed sign. We already see this very expensive assumption of risk played out in our city jail, which assumes full responsibility for all incarcerated individuals whose freedoms are restricted. Now, the mayor extends that expensive responsibility to the parks by having to ensure safety for all frequenting them, and any failure to do so may result in a civil suit against her, the city, and of course, the taxpayer. That is why I call on you, the City Council, to oppose the mayor's executive order. You see, there are three types of individuals who want to take guns away from the people. The first, all who do not trust the people. The second, dictators. And the third, predatory criminals wanting to assault the people with less risk of harm to themselves. Now, if you and the mayor are dictators or support criminals, we have a problem. But if you simply do not trust the people, understand that by default, you are putting your trust in criminals who are 100% not trustworthy. By the way, no modern gun has ever gone off while concealed in a holster. They are not a danger there. Just think about that. I ask you and the mayor to override, rescind, or modify the executive order prohibiting concealed carry in the parks. It was created out of an imaginary fear, but it causes a real fear in the people, for it adds a real danger to the very public you are charged with protecting from danger. Are there any questions?
Any questions for our testifier? All right, see none. Thank you so much for coming down. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify tonight?
I'd like to make a comment on what he just said.
Please, feel free.
I've read that executive order as well, sir. There is a clause in there that she also wrote that said that if you desire to carry a firearm on city property, that you can write her a letter and ask for her permission. I would agree. I am not a favor. I do not favor the executive order at all. I think it violates the citizens' rights. That's why LB 77 was passed, and I don't think the language in it is compliant with that the new state law. So just wanted to let you know that I do actually side with you on this issue.
In your hands, people.
All right, very good. Thank you. And again, a council member can always make an introduction of an ordinance that would allow concealed carry in a public park. That's also an option. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak during public comment? Anyone else here to speak during public comment? All right, see none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion adjourn.
Second.
Second, Weber, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers, oh, excuse me,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Show,
Yes.
how'd you know? Washington,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
We are adjourned.